US Highway 70. Yeah. Alright, we are doing a full part of US Highway 70 as the supercut. Yeah. Let's do it. And yes, US Highway 70 begins here in Atlantic, North Carolina. This is the counterpart of Interstate 42. Morehead City is 4 miles. New Bern is 40. We do get US Highway 17 for Bayboro and Washington. So we're going to join US Highway 17. And yes, we're losing US Highway 17. It's time for Jacksonville, North Carolina, not the Jacksonville, Florida. And now US Highway 258 is joining us. And we're losing US Highway 258. We're still joining US Highway 70 for Goldsboro. We get US Highway 13 mentioned. So US Highway 70 changed different ways. The old way was on Interstate 42, and now the other way, you get the former of US Highway 70. We get US Highway 117, so we get a mention for Interstate 795 for Wilson, and now we get Raleigh! Yay! Now we're joining back with Interstate 42. So now we're taking US 70 to Selma and Smithfield. That's new. So it says to US Highway 301 and Interstate 95. We get Interstate 95 as bad signage. Well, this should have been not Benson. This should have been Fayetteville. Wilson, that should have been Richmond, Virginia. Like, NC Dot, why are you doing this? So we get US Highway 70 signed for Raleigh still. Yay! We get US Highway 301. So we get North Carolina Highway 96 and 39. So we get a mention for US Highway 70 for Gardner. So US Highway 401 is about to join us. We get Interstate 40. So we get US Highway 64 mentioned. And we're losing US Highway 401. So US 70 is time for Wade Avenue and Airport. That should have been Durham. We get Interstate 440 for Wake Forest and Sanford. In Durham, we get Interstate 540 and US Highway 1 for Wake Forest and the airport. And we're signed for Durham. Now we get Interstate 885. So it says to Interstate 85 for Petersburg and Greensboro. And we're splitting off with Interstate 885. We get US Highway 15. So we're joining US Highway 15 South for Greensboro. We get US 501. And we're losing US Highway 501. So we get US 15 and US 70 staying. In Greensboro, we get US Interstate 840. We get US Highway 29 signed for Reedsville. This should have been Danville, Virginia. So we got High Point for US 29 and 220, which they're joining us. We get Interstate 40 East. It'll head into Raleigh and Greensboro. Westbound, we'll head into Winston-Salem. We get US Highway 421 and Interstate 73, which US 29 would split off eventually. So we get Asheboro and Winston-Salem and Martinsville. We get Interstate 74 for Asheboro and Winston-Salem. Now we just rejoin US Highway 29. So 29 split off with us since Greensboro. And yes, US Highway 64 joined us. We get a mention for US Highway 52 for Winston-Salem and Lexington. And we're losing US Highway 64, so US 29 and 70 is still together. And US Highway 52 has joined us. With US Highway 29 and 70, and we're losing US Highway 52 and Interstate 85. So Interstate 85 joined us since US 52 and 29 and 70 joined Interstate 85. We're finally losing Interstate 85. 29 and 70 are signed for Spencer. And we're losing US Highway 29. We're joining US 601 for Mockville and Statesville. That is the correct choice for US 70 for Statesville. And we're losing US 601, so US 70 win to Statesville. We do get a mention for Interstate 77. 77 North will take you to Wytheville, Virginia, and Charlotte, North Carolina. For southbound, Interstate 77. We get US Highway 21. Here's US Highway 64. US Highway 64 will meet us in Memphis in Part 2 in Tennessee. Here's US Highway 321. We've did in my video. You can go check out my US Highway 321 video. After getting through Morganton, we get US Highway 221. A lot of 21s. We get Interstate 240. Now we're going to join US Highway 19, 23, and Interstate 26 for Woodfin and Weaverville. And we're going to be splitting off with Interstate 26. So US 70 will join US Highway 25. And we just entered into Tennessee. So we're about to head into Newport. And we're going to end in Knoxville. Now we're joining US Highway 321. We're going to have a little short concurrency with that. And US 321 is splitting off with US Highway 25 and 70. 25 and 70 are having a long concurrency. After that, US 25 disappears. We get US 25 E and W. So US 70 will join US 25W. On this bridge, they're going to rename this bridge President Donald Trump Bridge in Interstate 40 Bridge. I don't know when they're going to plan it. So we're heading into Danridge. And now we're about to be joining US 11 Highway E as we head into Knoxville. And we're losing US Highway 25W. So US 11E and US 70 will head into downtown to Knoxville. And now US 11E and W are rejoining US Highway 11, which we're joining US Highway 11 for a long concurrency through Knoxville through Farragut. Here's US Highway 441. US Highway 70 will meet US Highway 41 in Nashville. And we left off we're here as we left US Highway 441 Bridge. We get US Highway 129 that will take you to Alcoa Highway, to the airport, and Maryville, the Great Smoky Mountains. What else? Fontana. If you get on US Highway 129 South, you get Atlanta, which it's a great choice for both of the US highways. It says we get a mention for Interstate 75 and 40. We get Interstate 140 for Oak Ridge and Maryville. Why is US 11 signed for Lenoir City? This should have been like Cleveland, Tennessee, or Chattanooga, Tennessee. And then we get Kingston for US Highway 11. For US Highway 70. This should have been Nashville, Tennessee for US Highway 70. So, we're saying goodbye to US 11. We got no mention for Interstate 75. Here's US 321. Here's US Highway 321. That will take you to Oak Ridge, Lenoir City, and Kingston. This should have been Nashville. We are crossing the Clinch River. You can see a nuclear power plant over there in Kingston. You can see Interstate 40. In Rockwood, we're meeting US Highway 27. So we're going to be concurrent with US 27 southbound. And we're losing US Highway 27. It is time for Dayton, not Dayton, Ohio, but we just get Dayton, Tennessee. But we should get like Chattanooga, Tennessee, not just Dayton. And then we get Crossville, which is a fine choice, but I'd rather see Nashville. It says to Interstate 40. We get a mention for Interstate 40 multiple times. We'll be meeting Interstate 40 multiple times. In Arkansas, we're just going to stop meeting it in Little Rock. You can see US Highway 127, Detour US Highway 70. Bye. And we get Interstate 40 for Nashville and Knoxville, respectively. And we'll be heading into Lebanon with US Highway 231. In Lebanon, we get US Highway 231. Because I have done that video. You can go check that out. On top of us, you can see Interstate 24 as 24 splits off of Interstate 40. So Interstate 24 will go into Clarksville, and it meets up with Interstate 65, and they made a split off for Louisville and Clarksville. 24 will head into Chattanooga, 40 will head into Knoxville, 40 will head into Memphis. Here's US Highway 41. 41, this will come out August 29th, part 1, but you cannot watch it. It needs to come out on August 29th. We get a mention for US Highway 31, so US 431 is joining us. And we're losing US Highway 431. It is turning straight and returning right to see Interstate 40 and Interstate 65. Interstate 40 East would be signed for Knoxville. 40 West, Memphis. Interstate 65 South should not be Huntsville. That should have been Birmingham. Northbound will head into Louisville. We don't get no mention for Interstate 440. And now we're crossing the Tennessee River, because we got through it through Knoxville. So here's the Tennessee River as Kentucky Lake. We get US Highway 641. That will take you to Interstate 40. Interstate 40 is always signed for Memphis and Nashville. So US 412 is about to join us as it gets off Interstate 40 eastbound. We're losing US 412. US 70 will head with business US 412. We get US 45. That will take you to downtown Jackson. And that will take you also to Corinth, Mississippi. Now we're joining US Highway 79 for Memphis. So we're in Brownsville. And now we're going to be joining US Highway 64, which the Derphog done his video on. When I did my video on for North Carolina through Chattanooga, I let the Derphog do Tennessee and Arkansas on my video. And I did Oklahoma and finished it up through New Mexico and Arizona. So which we'll do. I will do Memphis and the rest of my states. We get Interstate 40 once again. It is usually signed for Nashville and Memphis, but this time it's going to get signed for Little Rock for westbound. We get US Highway 72. That will take you to Corinth. Also, with US Highway 45 and Huntsville and Athens. Because US 64 and 72 and 41 and 11 heads into Chattanooga with US Highway 72. Now we're joining US Highway 51, which we did on the video on US Highway 51. You can go check that out. And you can check out US Highway 72 video and 79 and 64. All kinds of stuff. And we're losing US Highway 51. Both of them will head straight. 64, 70, and 79 are turning straight. Now we're going to be joining US Highway 61 and 78. Once you're on Interstate 55, we will be heading into Memphis. So we're going to skip the rest of West Memphis. After splitting off with US Highway 78, 61, 79, and 64. Now we're just going to head into Little Rock with Interstate 40. Now we're going to be joining US Highway 49. You can go check that out. Hang on for a minute. And we get a mention for Interstate 40. Now we're losing US Highway 49. Now we're joining US Highway 63. And we're losing US Highway 63. It'll take you to Interstate 40. We get North Little Rock to Interstate 40. So we get a mention for Interstate 440. We get US Highway 165. We get Interstate 30. This will take you to Interstate 40. Interstate 30 will take you into Texarkana. And we are crossing the Arkansas River. Skipping the rest of Little Rock, now we're joining Interstate 30 West for Texarkana. Now we're losing Interstate 30 West for Dallas and Texarkana. Wow, we get Dallas, Texas. So we're now going into Hot Springs. Now we get US Highway 270. So we're about to join it. And we're losing US Highway 270. So US 70 will head into Airport Road. Now we're joining US Highway 278. And we're losing US Highway 278. Hang on for just a second. We just get US Highway 71. Are we joining it? And we are. And we're losing US Highway 71. So US 70 will just head into Oklahoma. Welcome to Oklahoma. In Broken Bow, we get US Highway 259. And now we just joined US Highway 259. Now we're losing US Highway 259, so US 70 will be turning right. Hugo is 49 miles. Now we're joining US Highway 271 for Hugo, and we get Paris, Texas. And we're losing US Highway 271, so US 70 will just head straight. We hit US Highway 69 and 75. Now we're joining US Highway 377. Now we're losing US Highway 377. We get US Highway 77, so we're about to join Interstate 35. Interstate 35 North is signed for Oklahoma City. And we're losing Interstate 35. We're signed for Lone Grove. Okay. We get US Highway 81. We're joining US Highway 277 and US 281. We get Interstate 44. East will just head into Oklahoma City. And we're losing Interstate 44 US Highway 278 and US 281 for Wichita Falls. Wow, US 70 will just head into Texas. Now we're going to be joining US Highway 183. And we just entered into Texas. Now we're joining US Highway 287. Now we're losing US Highway 183. It'll join US Highway 283. Now we're losing US Highway 287. US 70 is signed for Crowell and Plainville. In Paducah, Texas, we get US Highway 83, and now we're joining US Highway 62. And we're losing US Highway 62. US Highway 62 will head into Lubbock, and US 70 is going somewhere. We get Interstate 27, and yes, this is US Highway 87 on Interstate 27. We get US Highway 385. Now we're joining our old friend US Highway 84. You can go check out my US Highway 84 video. It came out since April. We get 84 eastbound. Now we're joining westbound US 84. Now we're just going to enter into New Mexico, and we're about to join US Highway 60. In Culvis, we're splitting off with US Highway 60 and US 84, so US 70 is turning left to Alamogordo. We get US 285, and now we're about to join US 380. So now we just joined US Highway 285. Now we're losing US 285. US 70 is joining US 380. And we're losing US 380, so US 70 will head into Alamogordo. Now we're going to be joining US Highway 54. Sorry, this spammers need to stop calling me. Okay. Now we're just going to be joining US Highway 54. And you can see the beginning of US Highway 82, our old friend we've did since May. Now we're going to be losing US Highway 54, and we're signed for La Cruces for US 70. We get Interstate 25 and US 85 for Albuquerque, and we're signed for La Cruces. Now we're joining Interstate 10 West for Deming. This should have been Phoenix, Arizona. We get 10 East for El Paso, and we're going to be losing Interstate 10. So US 70 will just go into Arizona. And welcome to Arizona. This is our last US highway to end. Now we're going to be joining US Highway 191. And we're going to say goodbye to US 191. So US 70 would head into Globe and Phoenix. We get US 60 for Show Low and Springerville. We get Globe and Phoenix. And we get an N sign for US 70. And US 70 ends on US 60. So that is it.